Hey there, beautiful souls. I'm Colleen Lockoff.
And I'm Meredy Lockoff.
And welcome to Spiritual Sisters with Sass, the podcast where two sisters with a passion for spirituality and a touch of sass come together to explore the exciting world of self-improvement.
That's right, Colleen. We embarked on this incredible journey together, diving into different self-improvement techniques, yoga practices, and a whole array of life experiences.
Yeah, and through it all, we've managed to create lives that are abundant, happy, and constantly evolving. It's been a wild ride, hasn't it, Meredy?
You bet, sis. We've got two very different perspectives on life, but that's what makes this podcast so special. I'm all about diving in head first into life's adventures and embracing every challenge with a bit of sass. While Colleen here, she's got her own unique approach.
Yep, that's me. And I'm all about the yoga, mindfulness, and finding my zen. And together we make the perfect balance.
So whether you're looking for some wisdom, a few laughs, or just some heartfelt stories, you're in the right place. We're here to share our personal experiences and insights with you, all while exploring the wild and diverse world of self-improvement.
So grab your headphones and get ready for a fantastic journey with us. Spiritual Sisters with Sass is here to uplift, inspire, and keep it real.
Thanks for tuning in, lovely listeners. Let's dive in.
Spirit and sass. Here we go. Right, everyone, welcome to today's episode of Spiritual Sisters with Sass. Meredy and I were feeling like we have had so many other people coming on to the podcast and we haven't been able to direct our conversation specifically towards something. And so we're showing up today with just the two of us to talk a little bit more about really our own stories and how other people's actions can set off a trigger within us for us to think it's all our fault. So take it away, Meredy. What the fuck am I talking about?
Oh my God. Okay. So let's story time. So y'all remember like last year, I went on my first date and I told you guys it was amazing. It was totally unexpected because even going on the date, all I was looking for was like someone to be comfortable enough with that, like maybe we could snuggle and be friends and hang out. And it ended up becoming so much more than that. And it very quickly was like really intense. And our night together, I feel like it was the night of my birthday or the night after my birthday that we like, he even said to me, I feel like I've known you forever. And it just was like this incredibly intense, like he had pursued me for a few years in so many ways and all of these things. And then just kind of disappeared. Like, I'm in a bad place. And it fucked with my head. And I immediately came to you and Lindsay and said, like, what's wrong with me? Like, I'm so much that like my first date with someone, it was super intense. Don't get me wrong. Like, I get that. Like, that can be scary. But also, I'm so much that like this guy bailed. So what's wrong with me? What do I need to fix? Because I've spent the last years fixing. And you and Lindsay were both like, shut up. This isn't about you. Don't make it about you. But it's so hard not to make it about you. So hard not to make it about you. So then it's now been just over a year since that happened. And in, say, the last 4 months, the same gentleman, lovely human, has done the exact same thing to 2 other women where he pursued them, took them for coffee, did this like literally pattern for pattern. I'm in your area. Let's go for a drive in my nice car. We end up at your house. I can't leave. So we go to sleep. Then in the morning, I'm like, hey, I need you to take me home. It's early, yada, yada, yada. Oh, things were so fun. Hey, I'm in a really tough place. Or I'm in a dark place. Or I need some time because. And that same pattern showed up with both of these women. Both women did the exact same thing I did. Oh my God, what did I do wrong? Why am I this? What is it about me that made him do this? And the one girl is a really close friend of mine. She also takes care of my face. And so we had this conversation and I said, like, she was in tears and she's like, what did I do? Like, I haven't dated in so many years, so many years. So what is wrong with me? And I was like, okay, this is my fucking story playing out again. So I'm going to tell you what everyone told me. This isn't about you. But let's reiterate that. I'm going to explain to you why it's not about you. And so we started really digging into it. And it triggered every insecurity. It triggered, like, what's wrong with me? Here's the abandonment issues for her. I mean, even for me. Um, all of these different things inside of her were triggered and she was aware of it. And she's like, but I thought I had dealt with these. Is this not the exact conversation that you and I had? I've dealt with these insecurities. Why are they surfacing now? Because for one, let's go back to that conversation that you and I had about how many times in 1 year that same trauma is being surfaced and we've only healed one moment of that trauma.
Right.
So I had this conversation with her and I said, I know right now, like she was like, fuck him. I don't want anything to do with him. And I was like, how about, yeah, fuck you, Joe, but let's do it a little softer. And also, thank you for giving me an opportunity to heal another spot of myself that I need to heal. And she was like, oh, shit. Okay, I like that. She said, but also this is all about me. And I said, no, it's not, because the exact same thing happened to me. So I know that is a way to help her to process that. But I said, now let's remove me entirely from the situation and let's look at all of the situations. And now, even my boyfriend, he said, I just can't ever seem to keep everybody happy. And I was like, let's stop right there, because it's not your fucking responsibility to keep anybody happy. You're not responsible for my happiness. And so the last 2 days, I've been irritable. I gave myself a hormone treatment, feeling much better, but I've been irritable. Like, spoke to my dad in a way I haven't spoken to in years. I literally, like, my dog is driving me crazy. She's my everything. Everything's driving me crazy. And he's like, all I want to do is make you happy. And I was like, but you can't make me happy. And if I'm going through something, it's not about you. And even when it's about you, it's not about you. So what I mean by that, when he does or says something, which he hasn't really done or said anything that has triggered me, but if he does, a perfect example, him and I were sitting there as I started to fall in love with him, this like moment of me feeling like he was pulling away from me. I sat him down and we were laying in bed and I was like, I feel like you're pulling away from me and you have this power to hurt me. And he's like, I don't like that you use the word power. I don't have the power to hurt you. I have the ability to hurt you. He said, and I don't want to hurt you. That's not what I want for this. He's like, I don't see that I'm pulling away. I don't see that at all. And as I said it to him, I was like, holy crap, because he has this ability to hurt me. I'm the one pulling away. I'm the one going, oh my God, what if he does hurt me? So when I see something in someone else, and you guys know this is such a normal thing for us to talk about in this podcast, when I see it in you, it's all about me. So let's go back to, let's call him Kevin again, even though it's not Kevin, but let's talk about Kevin. So Kevin has this pattern. And so within Kevin's pattern, it triggers certain things within other people. And Kevin's pattern triggered in me a lot of insecurity, a lot of I'm too much, a lot of all of those things. But those are my things to heal. And so what I've learned so much, especially from you in these relationship agreements and all of these things, is your expectations of me are not my business unless you've made them my business and then I have agreed to those expectations. So you getting mad at me because you decided I should act a certain way and then I didn't follow through on acting that way, not my problem. If you had instead come to me and said, this is what I need from you, this is what I would like from you, and I say, you know what, I can live up to those expectations, then you're allowed to be upset. Even that, you're allowed to be, well, you want to upset at me. But now I have let you down because I didn't follow through on the agreements that we made, not the expectations that you have of me. So
Exactly. Like the question is, okay, and this is for every single person, who are you here to make happy?
me.
That's it.
That's it.
Actually, Ruff and I had like a thing. We're stuck here. We've been stuck here. It's been getting a little isolating. Then we had the rainiest rainy season in 22 years. It was just like, it was a shit show. And he came to me one morning and said, like, I'm bored, I'm not happy. Like, thanks for sharing. And that's not my problem. Like, I literally said, I'm not here to make you happy. And I remember when I learned that about, first of all, my partner not being here to make me happy. Because what do I do when I'm unhappy? I immediately start pointing my finger. You need to change. You need to do something different. But like one time, Rafa and I had a thing, and he said, if I did everything that you ever wanted me to, and I was all the things that you're like asking for, do you think you would be happy? And I was like,
And the
I
answer is
don't want
no.
to admit it, but the answer is I would probably find something to bitch about.
Yes. And it's because when we are unhealed, so this also surfaced because there's been some reconciliation in my life. I don't want to get too into it. I don't want details, but there's been some reconciliation in places in my life. And it made me have to look at who I used to be. And I called you afterwards and said, like, I kind of feel like shit. And your thing was, and I had a conversation with my coach because he's like, you're just not yourself. And I was like, I really am not. And what he said to me is, look at yourself and say, holy crap, that was the unhealed version of me. It sucked. But the
Yeah.
healed version of me no longer acts like that.
Yeah. That means that the healed version of you can then apologize for the unhealed version of you and the behaviors that you had because it's not going to upset you because you're not that same person.
Yeah.
In fact, I was with my like run coach friend, fellow yogi, all the things. And I was saying to her that I'm running and I'm doing all these things, but I'm like not losing weight and I'm getting frustrated at it. And she was just like, let's just stop here. You're not running in the same body that you were running in last year. And I was like, oh shit, like that's a really, for me to expect everything to be the same, right?
Yeah.
I was running purely for well, not just the enjoyment, but for like a goal, right? To run a marathon. Okay. And what came from that was like, well, a whole journey of not eating enough, being dizzy, like figuring out nutrition, like so many other things. But every time I met up with someone, the comment was, you're the ever disappearing woman. Oh my gosh, you've lost so much weight. What are you doing? Like it was just constant comments about how clearly people could see I was doing something. And now I'm doing double what I was doing
Yeah,
then.
because now you're doing the workouts that I've given you that
Yeah.
are at least 3 days a week, and they're not easy
Yeah.
workouts.
And I'm not seeing like I'm still looking in the at the computer and seeing a double chin. I'm still
But
looking down
also, but also in that you have also said to me, like, holy shit, my legs, man. Like the shape of my legs is changing. And that's
and
muscle building.
it is. And I just like hit this understanding of like for me to expect something similar to a completely different body is I mean that's expectations and what do expectations set us up for? They set us up for disappointment.
Disappointment. Yeah.
So I thought about this because we're both in our mid 40s. We
Hmm.
both have been with partners that also have been in their mid 40s. And one of the things that you and I have shared specifically is that these men don't operate or work like younger men. So, something that you and I have run into is situations in which if the partner, the person isn't there like fully okay, mentally, emotionally into it, then other things don't work as well.
Yep.
Where do we go immediately?
Us. My fault.
Us.
I don't turn them on anymore.
Yep. I don't turn them on. And
That was
in
my fault.
no way do we ever head back to like, well, beyond not just like blaming, oh, it's this guy, but like looking deeper into what this means emotionally. What that means is first and foremost, you don't have a fuckboy douchebag boyfriend.
Oh, damn it.
Right off the bat. And then secondly, like I remember when I actually first met Rafa, and it was like not a great day. The water was like not working and I was kind of off and we went for a walk and then we had not like done the deed. And I was just like, it's gonna happen. We're gonna have a shower, we're gonna do this thing, we're gonna do that thing, and then the water wasn't working. And so
That
what did
wasn't the day
I
you met him.
no, 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 no. This was like a
Oh, you
month
said the
in or
day I met him.
something.
Yeah, you said
Oh,
the day I met him.
well, he
I
came
was
up
like, you
here.
already said
Okay,
the
no,
day.
no, no.
Yeah,
He
the
came up
first
here
day
as
he
like
came
the
up
whole
here, yes.
thing. We have this whole thing that's going to happen, and then things aren't right. And instead of like emotionally diving into what's going on with me, I did my pattern, my dry drunking of sex. Sex is going to fix this. I don't need to feel, let's just have sex. And I remember he's like, what's going on here? What's happening? Because I just like, I had an emotion and then I just shut it the fuck off. And then I did what I usually do, which was like, well, you're a dude, let's
Addiction.
fuck, everything's going to be fine, you know, and you're not going to catch on because it's just about having sex. And I think that was the first time anyone ever said, what's happening here? This is not happening. Let's slow down a minute. And I also knew that's when things were different,
Yeah.
right? He was like, let's not do that. Let's wait till the water comes on, you know, like let's put that off till tomorrow because I can't just like dive in here with what's going on. Something's not right with you, which then fuck had me go into my emotions. And then I ended up bawling my eyes out, which I was not super excited about sharing with him at the time. But then it also brought us so much closer and so much deeper.
Yeah.
Immediately, when he said, what's going on? I took total personal, like, he doesn't want me. It's
Yep. And
me.
then it becomes about my body.
Yep.
And then it becomes that I'm not
You know
attractive enough.
exactly where I want. I'm fucking
Yep.
fat and he doesn't actually like me.
Yep. But also in the past too, like if we let our logic take over, which rarely we do. I mean, sometimes we do, but when we're unaware, we don't. So we just go straight into I'm fat. He doesn't find me attractive. He doesn't want to have sex with me. What is he using me for? And then instead of that, you go into, you also have that, but also any other guy would have just fucked me.
Right.
So what's different here? And why is this the way it is? Which is what allowed you to. Oh, there she is. And that's when we find that like we can see the difference in what's actually happening. And that's when we're reflecting on ourselves. For me, if and one of the things like my current boyfriend has made me really see because one of the things I would typically say is I'm very consistent. And I am. I'm not just consistent in the actions I take in my life, but I'm pretty consistent with my moods. Usually only a few days before I'll get really whiny and needy before my period or bitchy. It's one of the two. Usually it's whiny and needy, and when I don't get my needs met, I get bitchy. Okay, so there's that. But I'm pretty consistent with my moods. I typically don't let things bother me. Business wise, I've told you guys this before. I go straight into solution mode, which, yes, is a trauma response, but I get into solution mode because it's something I can fix. A couple days ago, I just couldn't do that. And I needed to sit and process. And even when you trigger me, Lindsay triggers me, he triggers me, which these aren't happening currently, but when they are, when I am triggered by them, we'll say my daughter, because a lot of times that's where I find my biggest triggers. When I'm being triggered by that, I look at myself. And so a really great spot for me to look at this is like, for example, with my daughter, I just sent her a message the other day and I said, I hate that I find you so unreliable. You know I'm saying I. However, I want to give you examples so that you can look at yourself. And she is pretty, you've seen her as well. She's pretty open to the feedback and she knows I'm not coming from a place of attack, but a place of love and hope to help you improve who you are. Also, I've seen some changes in her because she's seeing someone that I'm not a fan of. And so I'm trying to encourage her to stay herself through this. And so I said, like, I find you incredibly unreliable, and I really don't like that. You know that my biggest pet peeve is when someone says something and then does the opposite. You tell me you're coming boxing, and you've showed up for one class. You say you're coming over. We did a spaghetti sauce off last night, myself and Byron, and then we made other people decide whose sauce was better. We do this all the time. It's fun. And so we did the spaghetti sauce off last night, and she was supposed to join. And then I said, hey, don't forget tonight's spaghetti sauce off. And she's like, oh, I can't, I work, which I understand. But this is also a conversation that I have had with Lindsay. And I said, when I ask you something, you immediately say, yeah, I'm going to do it. And then you let me down because you agreed to do it and you never follow through.
And then you don't do it.
So what I need from you in this relationship is I need you to take a minute. And I said this to her yesterday, or in my message to her. I said, I need you to take a minute and look and see if it's actually feasible for you to do before you commit to doing it. And if it's not feasible, simply tell me no. And if it is feasible and you want to do it, say yes, but then commit to the fact that you said that you were going to do it. And so she sat there and she was like, you know what? You're right. Here's why I bailed on spaghetti. And I'm not saying that her reasons aren't justified. She just got the line, which is her like shift at work. Yep, she did. She got her permanent position. She graduated.
Nice.
She did all the things. So it is exciting. And I understand and I do see, but also we can go back to we're either making excuses or finding solutions.
Right.
So I understand your excuses, which is your reasons. Okay. Reasons, excuses, same thing. I understand them. But this is where you need to say, I might not be able to do that because I don't have the line, but I'd really like to participate. And then because you work at 3:00, you start at 9:00 and start your spaghetti sauce because you've committed to something, whether you want to or not.
Right.
You've already committed. And that's where, for me, if I've committed to something, unless there's death, something I have absolutely no control over, I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do. I'm not going to shove it off to the side unless I really, really, really don't have any other choice.
I mean, let's just look at this. Okay. You're not always late because of construction.
No, I'm late because I left my house too late.
Yeah. If you are, then leave earlier, right? Like if I told you, I'm going to see you at 3 and then I'm not there at 5 after 3, you're probably going to start worrying. You're not going to be like, she does this all the time. You're going to be like, I wonder if something happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So the consistent fucking up, not showing up, saying you're going to do something, this is where our own personal boundaries come into place.
Yes.
Right? This is not bringing in a boundary and cutting everybody off because they don't do what you tell them to. This is what you're doing right now with your daughter. Listen, before you just say yes, I really need you to look and see if you have space to do it. Because if you say yes, then
my expectation,
I want you to be there.
Yes.
Period.
Because we just made an agreement. Not just my expectation of you. My expectation of you is that you're going to show up because of this agreement.
Yes.
Now, also in me sending her this message and me reflecting, because I'm triggered by this, I'm triggered by inconsistency.
Yeah.
I'm triggered by being let down or feeling like I'm being let down, especially because I asked you for an agreement on this and then you did let me down. And she responded and she had agreed. So it was really like, it was great because it gave us a moment and she said, you know what, though, you're right. And I'm definitely going to pay more attention to that. Same thing with Lindsay. I told her this is something that triggers me and this is a me thing, but I'm asking you, let's make an agreement around our relationship and our actions in this relationship that we have. And what I would like for you to do is say, I would really like to do that, but I need to make sure I can make that work. And then when you do agree, you need to say, hey, also, Cole's not working. And if he gets an opportunity to work, I'm going to let you down because he needs to go to work.
Exactly.
But I also said to her, in that moment, though, why do you need to let me down? Why can't you then find a solution, which means find a babysitter to look after your kids because you've already got other commitments, or because your husband is the one who is now fucking up our plans. He's responsible for finding a sitter for the kids.
Because you are your word. And your word means shit if you can't keep it.
Yes.
I have something I want to share really quickly.
Okay. She's walked away, but keep talking. Keep talking because podcast listeners.
Right now, I am reading Anatomy of the Spirit. And as you can tell, it's a gooder.
Who is it by?
It's by Carolyn Miss.
Okay.
And I was reading today, I read it to Rafa. I was like, shit, this is amazing. And what she goes actually through, it's amazing. She goes through um the seven chakras, but also the seven Christian sacraments, and also
Uh,
the
just
Kabbalah, something maybe Jewish.
okay.
I
Okay.
I don't quite
So
know.
she looks at various religions in this
Yes,
because
and
essentially
how
yoga is
they all come together to we are energy, like we are energy, right? We're energetic beings. But in order for us to have energy, there's a source of power. And so she starts to talk about like how it when there's a dysfunction or a block, it's not an energy dysfunction, it's a power dysfunction.
okay.
It means that your power is misdirected and your energy can't flow, or it flows in a place that you don't want it to.
Okay. Okay. I like
And so
this so
she
far.
she was a journalist and then she became a medical intuitive.
So
Like,
she could diagnose people
yes,
medically by listening to your body.
yes. And
Oh my
she shares these like insights on like when she sees somebody, and then she'll get like a picture of like a racehorse that like is standing at the gate ready to go but never goes. And then so she'll share that, and then she'll hear a story like about a businessman that has all these business ideas but never acts on one, or follows the stock market and learns like how to intuit like that these stocks are going to go, but then he never actually pulls the trigger and
buys them.
buys one.
Okay.
And so what she's talking about in here is she's saying, I'm trying to think of where it was. I should have like marked it so that I could share it, because we're in the solar plexus chakra now. So your manipura, like your confidence, your self-will. And she's talking about recognizing that if you were to change something, and that change was that you saw that every single situation in your life was actually a lesson, and that's
Which
it,
is exactly how I say it all the time.
then you would look at your life from a completely different perspective.
1,000%. It changed my life being able to look at it from that perspective.
I gotta, I gotta find it so that I could share.
Like it literally changed my life looking at it from that perspective.
Right.
Because now I'm not the victim in my life every time. In fact, it is happening because I used to hear that, what if life is happening for you? And I'd be like, the fuck does that even mean? Now I'm like, oh, because it's happening to teach thing. Challenges. Like I truly have this belief that all of the religions took from the same core story, which to me is the Bhagavad Gita, and that they took from the same core story and then created their own explanations because not all of us are going to resonate with one thing someone says. So we get these different core explanations from different people, which is also their interpretation. And that's where it comes from. So in something about hell versus heaven. And I think my understanding and the way that I believe this to be, and the way that basically I feel like the Bhagavad Gita explains it, is that Earth is our hell. We're here to experience, and it's not, hell isn't supposed to be the way that, I'm not trying to be offensive here, but not the way that it's been written about. Hell is not this place you go to burn. Hell is this place you come to experience things, to learn, and then heaven is the place you go to when we all come back to, that seat of the soul, that universal energy. When we all go back to that. And so if that's the case, then I'm not here to suffer. And even if I am, and this is hell and I'm here to suffer, I'm here to learn, because we don't learn from pleasure. I'm not going to sit in pleasure and be like, oh, I'm learning so much. No, I'm going to stay in pleasure and not move from there because it feels good.
Exactly. Exactly. So she says here, from a spiritual perspective, any and all physical assets and limitations are illusory, mere life props. I don't know. Can you hear me? Because it's getting, okay, it's starting to rain. It's getting super loud. Yet a person's acceptance of or resistance to them is critical to entering spiritual adulthood. From a spiritual perspective, in fact, the entire physical world is nothing more than our classroom. But the challenge to each of us in this classroom is, given your particular body, environment, and beliefs, will you make choices that enhance your spirit or those that drain your power into the physical illusion around you? Again and again, the challenges of the third chakra will cause you to evaluate your sense of power and self in relation to the external world. So, I mean, what she's talking about is she met a woman that had severe arthritis and was limited to a wheelchair. And then it's an incredibly cool story about this woman at 55 dropping acid because her daughter gives her acid and she meets her angel. And she literally like sits there and cuts these elastic bands tied around her, and every elastic band was fear. And then her angel says, listen, you're going to be crippled when you get older. And so she says that her disease is a reminder of her freedom. And every day she wakes up like incredibly happy to be free of all of those elastic bands. But they all manifested into the physical of severe arthritis. So she's happier as a cripple than she is when everything was great, but she was so crippled by fear. Like this is amazing. The reason I'm really diving into this, so I'm about to launch a 500-hour teacher training. And the 500-hour teacher training is based on the chakras. And so we're diving into Carolyn Miss and Anadea Judith to like go deeper into this. And one of the things that's been happening to me is medical intuition. I have been for 3 years now getting feelings off of other people. Right? I start to obsess that I have breast cancer. I think that by the time I go and get a mammogram, that it's going to be throughout my whole entire body. And then I find out my friend has breast cancer. You know, the other day I was talking to a client and my right knee was just like pounding. And I'm like, oh, it must be from running. And then my client tells me that she tore a meniscus at work on her right knee.
Okay.
So it's been, I'm diving in a little bit deeper in this aspect, but the teachings are very based on a lot of things that we believe already, but it's taken it even a level deeper. And so it fits, I think, so perfectly with what we're saying, because if you have a chance to learn when a dude ghosts you by listening to the 4 agreements that say don't take things personal, then you can realize this is like an opportunity to learn that the reason that you think it's you is because you think you're a piece of shit. And you have an opportunity right now to not believe that and heal yourself, or you can stay in the old school story of what a piece of shit you are. And what do most of us choose?
It's the same as even that list. I 10th time or more, maybe even the 1,000th time I've watched this movie. But I watched The Secret again, and literally the thing that I love it because I pick up something different every time. This time it was so much deeper to me, especially after my last year's growth. But one of the things that it says is we're so busy focused on the things that we don't want, and we're so unconscious that we're focused on the things we don't want, that we're not focused on the things we do. And all the years is I'm in debt. And it's like, okay, I'll give you more of that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, my car broke down. Okay, I'm going to give you more of that.
Yeah.
You know, like, and we obsess over the things that are so unhealthy for us and the things we don't want in our life. And literally and I watched it with my boyfriend, and he literally was like, oh my God, this is going to change. And then the next day he messages me and he's like, okay, he's like, now I got to figure out how I buy a second property. And I was like, except if you actually listen to the secret, the main thing it said is the how is not your problem. And he's like, okay, then I got to figure out what you need to figure out is what you want. And he's like, then I want a second property. And I was like, okay. So then what you need to do is be focused on wanting on that second property. Eventually you need to get to the place where I own a second property. And and then he sent me a message and it was really cute. It was like, I'm gonna, cause in it, Bob Proctor uses this thing that says, I'm so happy and excited now that.
Yeah.
And so he said to me something about, I'm so happy that I own or that I'm gonna own a property. And I said, okay, and how does that feel? That's the part I feel like I probably struggle with the most is making myself feel. So I said, sit with that feeling because that feeling is going to be something, isn't the how or the what. What's going to happen is you focus on, I own a piece of property and the things that you need to be able to own that second piece of property are going to fall into place. I actually know realtors, I know mortgage brokers, which could lead you. So mortgage broker, they're going to look at your equity in your house. They're going to look at your income. They're going to look at all these things and they're going to tell you what you actually need. There is the start of what you need
How
to start working.
exactly.
Start the house. So
Yeah.
that's just a start.
All right. So yeah, I hear what you're saying, and the focus really on being where your attention goes, your energy grows. So based on the fact that it's rainy here and the internet is shitting out, we're gonna call this to a close, but we will definitely be carrying on this conversation. So thank you everyone for listening, and we will see you in our next podcast.
Bye guys.
Thank you for joining us on this spirited journey today.
We hope you enjoyed diving into the world of self-improvement with us. Two sisters who found their own unique paths.
Remember, life is a tapestry of experiences, and it's how we embrace them that makes all the difference.
So whether you're on your yoga mat, exploring mindfulness, or simply navigating life's twists and turns, always keep that spirit and sass alive.
We are Colin and Nerdy Lockoff, and we're here to remind you that happiness and abundance are within reach.
Stay connected with us on social media and keep those questions and stories coming. We love hearing from you.
Until next time, beautiful souls, keep doing the work, keep sharing your experiences, and keep living a life that's authentically you.
And never forget to add a little extra sass to your day.
Spirit and sass, always.